Hi everyone, welcome to the last Digital with Akash course. And today it's one of my favorite ones. It's all about Google Analytics. So I'm really excited to be going deeper into this subject with you guys. And I really hope you've enjoyed all the courses so far. Just as a reminder, we've done social media marketing, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, SEO, content marketing, email marketing, and PPC or paid search. But today it's Google Analytics. But if you missed the last episodes, they're all on the YouTube channel. So do check them out, please. And yeah, you can always take notes extra if you need to after. But now about Google Analytics. So first, for those who don't know, what is Google Analytics? Well, Google Analytics is a free web analytics tool offered by Google that tracks and reports your website traffic. So it's so well known in the world today, and over 50 million websites around the world use Google Analytics, including me, and I did the same at Dior. So if you have a website and you're not using Google Analytics, you should definitely set it up right now. It's free and there's nothing stopping you. It's super easy, and hopefully after today, you'll learn a lot of tips and tricks how to use it if you do have it as well. So what does it do in a nutshell? Well, the first thing, it does measure your website performance, meaning it measures your sales, your traffic, the type of audience, basically everything that you could want to measure on your website, more or less, Google Analytics can do. It also sees if your marketing efforts are working and from what channels are they working from. So, is your social media driving traffic? Is your Google ads driving traffic? Is your referral network driving traffic? It's pretty in depth, and it goes into loads of granular levels. And that's why I love Google Analytics, because you can never really be a pro, because there's more and more you can learn and do within the software itself. Then you have which type of content you create or products to list on your site. So it tells you which specific products or widgets are performing well. It then helps you segment your users by the audience, by location, by the demographic. And then eventually, and the most importantly, it will optimize your website pages to boost conversion through all of these learnings. So think of it really as an analytic tool to learn and better your website performance. And there are two forms of data that are really present within the Google Analytics platform. And this is user acquisition data, meaning your users before they visit your website, and user behavior data, which is the users when they visit your website. So you can really compartmentalize this two, before and during, as your main kind of segments of data that you can find within this platform. So how does it specifically work, you might be wondering? Well, it does by putting several lines of tracking code into the code of your website. So many websites today are, the types of Squarespace, Shopify, which are very like user friendly. They will have like widgets that says Google Analytics, and you just literally copy and paste. Or some of them are even easier, where you just connect and you just type in your Google account email. So you don't have to worry about coding or anything to really connect the websites. They've done a very seamless integration. But in the back end, it's basically putting a code into your website. And this code records various activities of your users when they visit your website, such as their age, their gender, their interests, usually taken by, if they have a Gmail account, or Google account, they usually get a lot more data as well. It then sends all that information to the Google Analytics server once the user exits your website. So you can basically keep all of that and use that for your benefit, or whatever is needed for your marketing. And the tracking code, well, it's a code through which Google Analytics knows it must track your website visitors and any action they perform. So it kind of comprised of some JavaScript, and you can see an example below, but that's for a whole other course, maybe a programming course that we can do. But you don't need to know that, but it's just some extra information that might be useful. So how does this code work using cookies? So for those who know or perhaps don't know, a cookie is of course something that you can eat with milk and give to Santa, but a cookie is also a very smart technology that is usually dropped on a user's browser, and they're basically very small files that contain information about the user's activities. So using these cookies, Google Analytics will know how a user behaves on your website, and then collects this information to show you different reports. Usually the cookie window is between 28 30 days. So after this, then people clear their cookies automatically, but also people who work or use or surf the internet on a incognito window or a private browser, the cookie will not be placed. So that's something that is something very important to know, that you won't always get the data. Also, now because of GDPR policies and compliances, some websites will have to disclose, and that's why you see a pop-up either at the bottom of the website or in the website that says, do you accept all cookies? If you don't accept this, or if you press accept all cookies or you press X, you've accepted it. So even pressing X, you pretty much accepted it. You have to really click no, and only then will the user not be tracked. A lot of people are quite conscious about this because it's their private data, it's their personal data. So I can understand why people want to sometimes surf the internet without any kind of cookie tracking. Especially that's why, when you sometimes search something and then 2 days later you see an ad, this is using these pixels and these cookies. But it's very important when you're in Google Analytics that uses these cookies, that you really think about building these parameters and tagging all the links that you're doing. So as you're seeing now, when someone types in fableandmain.com, for example, that user will still be picked up on Google Analytics because I've got the code tracked in the website. But if I want to go more granular and really see where that user's come from, you then want to start adding source, medium, which are the main two parameters. Source meaning, medium being the first one, which will be your email, your social, your affiliate. Then let's say you're going for social, your source is the one which is like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And then you have your campaign name, which is where you want to go a bit more in depth. And then you can have a campaign term, not necessarily needed. So most people only use the first three. And as you can see there in this website, which I really recommend everyone to use, and I'll put a link in my YouTube video, this is the best way to build a UTM parameter to get the full tracking from your website. So whenever I do a social ad, a YouTube video, a swipe up on Instagram, I always make sure to have my full parameters because I can then really track how many clicks and any sales came from this link, and you can go very granular. So for example, this example here would have been a Facebook post from social media. It would have been an Instagram boost on the month of July on week 4. And in terms of the term, I've used it to go a bit more even granular. And this is where it was the red assets. But this is something that you decide, you write it, and then you can track it yourself because you're the one using the analytics tool, no one else. So what are the pros and cons of GA? Well, the advantages of GA is you get increased visibility of your site and the user behavior. It helps you make strong decisions. It's completely free. It's universal, meaning you can use it worldwide on any website, any form. And it works on multiple devices, so mobile, desktop, tablet. But also it's got incredible amount of resources at hand from Google. For example, Analytics Academy is a free online course that Google has offered to get you really in touch with how Google Analytics works. So I do recommend everyone to go try Analytics Academy out to get a bit more in depth with it, but make sure you have a Google Analytics account at the same time because you want to be learning and playing at the same time, not just reading. But what are some disadvantages of GA? Well, it's still a bit limited in the sense of you don't get all the data. And, as you know, this is something that it's natural because people have got private browsers or people are not, maybe don't have a Gmail account. So you're not necessarily getting the full picture. And that's something to remember. It's not the only tool in the world that will show you everything. It's not entirely independent. So they do rely on other softwares and third-party companies sometimes. It's complex, meaning, I only use certain widgets, and we'll go through a demonstration later, which hopefully will help you guys to really visualize everything I'm saying. But it is quite complex. So there are some widgets and some kind of tabs that I've never even clicked on, and I've been on GA for the last probably 6 years. The reliability is definitely questionable. Sometimes I see clicks on, let's say, the swipe ups from Instagram or some sales, and I see it not fully translating to Google Analytics because GA tracks it in their own way, in their own code. So for example, a link is not tracked unless it's lasted for 3 seconds, for example. So that's something that's definitely to think about. You also have the inability to edit mistakes. So once you've tagged something wrong, for example, it's there forever. And that's something that really annoys me. So let's say I put red asset, but actually it was the white asset. That's annoying because you can't edit it, it's done. And that's something that I feel is probably the biggest disadvantage of GA. And then not really for us, but usually when you're talking about the L'Oreals, the LVMHs, it does get expensive with scale. If you have over 15 million users on your website, then the cost can go to like £100,000 a year. So it does get expensive as you have millions and millions of users on your website. But for now, I think shouldn't be an issue. So now for some key definitions before we go through a bit of a walkthrough. So users, when I refer to users and when you see users on GA, it's the amount of visitors that came to your site. And active users, which is quite self-explanatory, are how many are currently active on your site. So currently on your site as you're on GA, you will see like maybe there'll be 3 people in the world on your site. Then you have unique visitors, which is a user for the first time visiting your site, meaning they've never been on your site before. Again, not always accurate because it depends on the cookies, it depends on the incognito, it depends on the browser, on the Wi-Fi, on the, if they're on the 3G, then they're on the Wi-Fi, it's a different IP, it looks like a different person. So it really just depends. Then you have also sessions, so how many interactions a visitor makes from your site in a time frame, meaning let's say they entered on the home page, then they went to the shop page, then they went to the oil page, and then they went to the checkout page. That's 4 to 5 sessions. That's basically what it's going to measure. And that's important because you want to know that they've navigated through the site and really spent time on there. But then that's where session duration comes in, because that's the average time a visitor spends on your site. And you want it to be at least above a couple of minutes. Then you have landing page, which is the page your user begins their first visit on. And then your bounce rate, which we spoke about quite a lot during the Google Ads side, but this is the number of visits when users leave your site after just visiting one page, and it's represented as a percentage. So you want the bounce rate to be very low because you want people to be bouncing or leaving your site less. So I aim to have a bounce rate around 25 to 40%. That's excellent. If you have like over 70 or over 50, it's quite disappointing. So that's something that you should work on. And that how you work on that is by increasing the quality of content on your site, or for example, having more offers on your site, or more visuals on your site, or more call to actions on your site. Keep people on there, don't let them leave. And also making sure where they came from, there's some relevancy. So if they're coming from let's say an influencer who's let's say a car influencer, and he posted about your brand, but you have a makeup brand. Most people that are following that person would be into cars, and when they go on the site, they might swipe up and they'd be like, no, don't want to buy any lipstick, I leave. So the bounce rate will be really high. So you also want to be making sure that the traffic you're directing to your website is good quality, so you don't have bad bounce rates. It's kind of like a competition as well. Like, you get quite obsessed with these numbers. You kind of want to get them as low as possible. So that's really good to look at that regularly. Traffic, very self-explanatory. It's the amount of users visiting your site. Events, and measures the activity that may not otherwise be recorded by the tracking code, and you can set up the events. But like the same thing with goals, you can also set up goals. So let's say your goal is to make $100,000 this month, or your goal is to have 50 people visiting the site every hour. You can set these goals up, and then in the GA tool, you can see if it's met or not. So it was a very quick overview of GA because there's not much more to say apart from the fact that these are the basic definitions. There are some tools out there to help you, like the Analytics Academy, that I definitely recommend everyone to try, and then making sure that you're really exploring it but using the data effectively. So now some questions that I've been asked by people by email. So the first question is GA essential for small businesses? And I would say absolutely. GA is something that every small business that has a website, even if it's not a website that converts and has necessarily like sales added to it, you can always use it as a data tool to increase your site performance. So 100%. And if you have a small business, there'll be less data to see and it'll take you less time. So there's nothing stopping you. Should you use UTM, which is the tracking parameters, for every link on social media? For me, absolutely. Like, you want to make sure you can track as many of your links as possible. So I personally put trackable links on everything, and I don't see the harm in it because usually no one sees it on a swipe up. And if you want to put it in your link in bio, you just do a bit.ly link and no one usually notices it. So 100% UTM, wherever possible, do it. I know it's a bit last minute, it can be a bit tiring, but you should everyone get in the habit of making sure they're always trackable, because you can go even deeper. And it attributes it in the right way, because Google will have certain attributions that are just naturally they will do. but they get it wrong. And as I said, is one of the disadvantages in GA is it's not always the most accurate. Then, can I have multiple users looking at the same account in GA? You absolutely can. So you can assign different users, different email addresses of your company, different administrative accesses. So 100%, it's very easy to have multiple users looking at the same account in GA. Should I focus on my own goals or Google set goals? Google has very good set goals that usually would be your own goals. So definitely focus on Google set goals, but 100% make your own goals, make your own requirements, because your website is your website and your needs is your needs. So 100% make sure you're using the right goals that are relevant for you. For example, basket for me is very relevant because I want to see how many people were intending to buy, but didn't necessarily click the shop button. So how do we get that to increase that conversion? Then how long does it take to set up GA? Literally, it takes like 2 minutes, I think, or 1 minute click of a button, and then it's done. Pulling in the data is instantly. It's important to know that GA doesn't always show you the data of the same day. So you might need to wait 1 day. So let's say I'm on the 3rd of August. I got to wait till the 4th of August. I think it's something like probably like LA time, end of play, end of day. That's why in London and the rest of the world, it's always like the day later, that it records and shows you all the final sales. It will tell you some basic information like active users, of course, and some traffic, but the conversions don't always show up. Why can't I see my GA sales in this? Oh, so I pretty much answered that. Yeah, you can't see it because of this exact reason. What is Google Data Studio? So Google Data Studio is a very interesting tool that's also free. It basically allows you to pull in all the Google Analytics into a very beautiful sort of presentation online website. This is perfect for if you're working in a company and you want to showcase some data to your boss or your line manager or your CEO. I created at Dior a Google Data Studio for analytics from social media for my CEO. So he had something very easy to see, and you can still change the date. It's reactive. It's basically a plugin. Like, think of it like a screen to like something very complex. So GA is something very complex, and you have a screen that just basically makes everything very simple, easy to use, but it's still responsive. So you can change the date and time, and that's why I love it a lot. So yeah, Google Data Studio, definitely do check it out. It's really intuitive, really something that I would recommend everyone to do if you work for a company and you use GA regularly. 9, how long will it take me to become an expert in GA? Honestly, there's not really, it's like coding, you know, you can always get better and better. It just depends on how often you use it. But if you're using it regularly, like let's say every day for 2-3 weeks, you'll be classified as an expert, I feel, because it's pretty self-explanatory and it's pretty easy to use. Once the basic part, but not the in-depth part. It all depends on your website and how much data your website has to give. And then the last question is, should I look at all tabs and areas of GA or focus on a few? I would recommend focusing on a few. It's very, as I said, so much information. So focus on what's important for you and synthesize that. And then if you need to, you can start delving into other areas as you start getting a bit more of a pro into GA. So now I'm gonna see there's any questions, or I think we'll be good. So the GA course is a very short course. It's probably good on a Monday. You don't want to have a full hour. And it's something that I wanted to just touch on because I think it's a very important thing to learn and do, but there's only so much I can really say about it because it's really about doing it. And I really encourage everyone to either make a website just to trial GA, or if you have a website, definitely integrate it. And if you already have GA, start going deeper and deeper into it as much as the data can give you. So I don't think there's any questions at this time. If there is, do let me know, but I think hopefully I covered most of it as it's very concise and short. With regards now to the rest of the course, so the course is finished, and I know many people have asked about certificates, and I'm going to send an email about this some point this week to confirm what's possible, because I need to just make sure with legalities I can actually offer a certificate. If not, can I just offer a basic certificate? But I'm trying my best on that. And now with terms of the next courses, well, I'm open to any of your suggestions. Like, I've loved doing this digital with Akash course. We could do something in the future about business. The options are open. I think for now we'll take a bit of a break because I think everyone has worked really hard for the last two months now, learning a lot about digital. So I really want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's watched and joined. And please email me whatever your suggestions are for the future. I'd love to do more. We can even do digital advanced and go deeper into these topics, because obviously I've done a very overview approach to all the courses this last 2 months. But I would love to continually help and see what I can do to get to know you guys even more. So thanks so much, and have an amazing rest of the day and week. And this will be on YouTube later. And speak to you all soon. Bye, everyone.